What up, football fans all over the world? It is your boy, Mac, the Giants fan, here with my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas. You all know what time it is. It's time for that real deal NFC East Round-Up. Punch that intro. Punch it, goddammit. What is going on, everybody out there? Welcome to another edition of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. Week 1 in the books, getting ready for week 2. It was a interesting weekend to say the least for the NFC East division. All 4 teams went to war. 2 of them come up on top, 2 of them come up on the short end of the stick. I think we know exactly how that went, exactly the way people pretty much expected it to. But what is going on, Adam? How you feeling today, bro?
I'm great. It's another NFL season, and as I told you, I am taking back my NFL roots, and I'm just watching the NFL as a whole. And obviously, in this podcast, we look at the NFC East, but there was a lot of good football this weekend, and there was a lot of ugly football this weekend. And we're going to go. It happened to be in the division that we play in, so we're going to talk about it today.
Yeah, man, for sure, man. I'm gonna say what up to my guy, man. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets, man. Always here supporting the movement, man. We appreciate you always, man. In the chat, holding it down, man. Definitely, man. For sure, appreciate you. And what's going on, Kenneth, man? How you doing, bro? Definitely appreciate you too, man. Thanks for stopping in, man. Yeah, his rosters don't appear to be rostering. You're right, bro. I mean, he seems to keep making all the wrong decisions. He needed to listen to his damn kids this summer when they told him, pick a goddamn quarterback. Kids told you. The kids told you. A lot of other people told you. You chose to be arrogant and do what the fuck you wanted to do. And now we're running
No, he
it
chose
back
to be a
today. And
goofball.
we're seeing
He chose to be
exactly
a
seeing how that looked.
goofball. That's all he does is fucking laugh. You're gonna
what's
trade
what's
Brian
up,
Burns.
Daniel Barry?
You're not
Appreciate you.
looking for a quarterback. Like, thanks, Goofy. Like I know Carl Banks called us
Yeah,
Goofy.
it's
Maybe we
going.
should look up at the damn. Maybe he should look up at the damn GM sitting above him.
Word. Yeah, it's going great right now, Daniel. Man, we great to talk a little football. We're gonna get to the Giants in a little bit, but we're gonna start off on the Friday night game down in Brazil, man. Eagles, Packers, man. We talked about all the other messed up things about surrounding this game. The area, the field, the stadium, everything the field was a mess. But and there you go. They played a game. It ended up still being a pretty good game, even though the guys were slipping and sliding all over that sloppy ass field. But Eagles came out this one. They came out really slow, man. They really didn't jump out on the Packers the way I thought they would have. And they came out slow and looked kind of ugly in the beginning a little bit, man. I mean, and they did get it together and get the W ultimately in the second half of this football game. But it was a slow start for this offense and this high-powered offense. As a matter of fact, that you expected. I just expected him to come out the gates running, and they absolutely did not. Saquon Barkley, obviously, we already know the game he had. People talk about 24 carries, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. And then he also got 2 catches, 23 yards, and also a touchdown catch. So that's 3 touchdowns for Saquon Barkley in his Philadelphia Eagle debut. So yeah, Joe Shane, how you like that? How'd you enjoy that one Friday night, Joe Shane? But anyway, AJ Brown doing AJ Brown like things. What's that? 5 catches, 119 yards, and another big touchdown for him as well. Jalen Hurts right now, though. I'll ask you this a serious question. Do you think there's a potential that he's truly the weak link of this Eagle offense, man? Potentially. I mean, he comes out. I mean, most people would say still had a pretty solid performance, other than the 2 interceptions. But the fact remains, if you watching that game, he had some moments, some questionable moments. throughout this game. And do you think there's any possibility he could potentially be a weak link that could hold this team back?
Weak link? I don't think so. The only reason I say that is because he bounced back at the end of the game, right? He hit Devontae Smith on a slant route that was needed at the time, and he made the big throw when he needed to make the big throw. Were the interceptions bad? They were. The one where I'm watching it right now on NFL Network, the one that he throws from his end zone, no excuse. He was trying to step up. He couldn't step up in the pocket. He threw the ball blindly. Obviously, wasn't tall enough to see over the defender, so he just threw it blindly. McKinney undercuts it. The second one was a terrible throw because he pointed out like to go to the right, and he threw it right at the defender. And it's like, well, if you're gonna do all that, at least make the just make the throw. And then the fumble that he had wasn't really his fault. Well, the two fumbles weren't really his fault. It was the center exchange, but I think he's going to get better. I think this offense is going to allow him to take more chances. I think that's what's going to happen with him. You're going to see him do that because they're going to try to do what they did a little bit with Dak Prescott in the Cowboys system. I thought Kellen Moore called a good game for the Eagles offense. I thought there was movement, there was motion. They allowed guys to get wide open. Like you said, they did start off sluggish, but there were times in this game where I think you can see why the Eagles are Super Bowl contenders because they really did at moments look unstoppable there. And there was at one point where they just scored back to back to back touchdowns, and the Packers had no answer. And the defense made stops when they had to. They're not perfect by any means. I'm not saying they're the 86 Bears, but they got off the field when they needed to get off the field. They made the necessary plays. Their back end is going to be pretty good, man. Keon Mitchell was pretty good. Darius Slay played a solid football game. And, I thought a couple of their guys stood out. They missed tackles. It looked like a team, to be honest with you, that didn't play in the preseason. It really did look like a team that came out and was kind of rusty when they live bullets came. And then they kind of settled down in the middle of the second, third, and fourth quarters. And then, of course, they had that stupid fumble in the fourth to try to put it up. They should have just given it to Barkley. I don't know what you're doing there. You can still see Nick Sirianni does some stupid shit sometimes, and that was one of them. Like, you got 26, bro. Why are you trying to run a tush push at that position? Just fucking give it to the fucking running back who already had 3 touchdowns. Oh, and by the way, Joe Shane, maybe you should take a lesson from Howie Roseman on what to do when you have a quarterback that you're paying. Maybe get him a running back that actually does something. Maybe get him a running back that's a playmaker that changed the difference in the game. If they don't have Saquon Barkley, they lose the football game. Period. Point blank and period.
Absolutely.
No matter what they did with Jalen Hurst, if they don't have Saquon Barkley, the Eagles don't lose that game. He single-handedly is making them a Super Bowl team. He's going to be the X factor every week because if you saw what he did in the third quarter where he had that long run and almost took it to the house. And they got it down inside, and that's when the interception happened. But got it down inside the opponent's red area. That's what Barkley brings to you. The tilt of the field like that, and then guess what happens? When you have a running back like that, you have AJ Brown for a 65-yard touchdown because there's nobody. They have to stop the run, so they have one-on-ones across the board. So it really is. It really was an interesting game for me. I saw many ups and downs of the Eagles, but at the end of the day, they came away with a victory, and that's what they need to do as they start their journey.
Well, I mean, you said some really good points, absolutely. And this is the thing about this Eagle offense; they're a matchup nightmare. I mean, if Saquon Barkley gets it going, then you try to, you want to try to crowd the box, but then they got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goddard, and then they're going to start tearing you up. And then it's the same thing. If you start giving those guys more attention on the back end, then you got Saquon Barkley that's just going to it's just going to tear you up. So it's like, what the fuck do you really do with this team? I mean, like I said, it was a sluggish, slow start for them Friday night, but like you said, they got it in gear second half of that football game and did everything they needed to do to clamp down. But I want to talk about another guy on that defense that really showed up and showed out for the Philadelphia Eagles defense, man. 15 tackles, 11 of them were solo. He had 2 big sacks. Talking about the linebacker, Zach Bond. I mean, what do you think about his performance on Friday night?
Well, it's funny that you speak about him because our good friend AK, Reality Check, if you guys don't know, he and I were having a conversation about the Eagles, and I was like, man, he was like, well, what about that guy, Bond? I said, listen, man, he was good. I know who he is because I scouted him out of college. Thought the Giants had a chance to get him, and he just didn't pan out with New Orleans. But he came in there, and I watched one preseason game, one of them, and he was starting. I think it was the fourth game or third game, whatever it was. And I texted AK again. I'm like, "Yo, this 53, he's all over the place, man. You got a gamer in this guy." And he did miss one tackle. He missed the one tackle on Green Bay when they did the jet sweep, and the kid, the number 11, got the ball. He was the last one that kind of touched the receiver. But other than that, I thought he played a great game, and he made the key tackle at the end of the game to win the game for them. And I think his performance going forward is going to be the catalyst of this defense. When they get Nakobe Dean back, when they get a Devin White back, and Nakobe Dean understands how to play coverage, because a lot of their breakdowns was because Nakobe Dean was out of position, so he went too far or he ran with the running back, and there was an open spot underneath. So he was kind of, I wouldn't say the weak link, but I think he was an assignment sound there. Bond was assignment sound. I think he's going to help that defense with those two fat guys in the front, and Carter and Jordan Davis. He's going to have free roam. He's probably going to have a better line here than he did with New Orleans. I would expect more big things coming out of him this week.
Yeah, for sure, man. But all in all, man, the Eagles, like I said, they went down to Brazil and they took care of business and they came out of there, 1-0 against a really a game Green Bay Packers team. Green Bay was swinging all the way to the end, man, and who knows if they could have had Jordan Love on that last drive. I mean, who knows how this game could have ended? To be honest, man, because that young man was playing his ass off as well, man, and he came out firing. And I'm not going to say all the questions are answered already, but it looks like he is the real thing. He came out there and he was showing exactly why the Green Bay Packers went on ahead and paid him. So
Well,
wish that young man a speedy recovery. But
he does what you ask your quarterback to do, and that's to elevate the players around you. Okay, if they have any other quarterback, they probably don't, or they don't have. If they have Joe Schmo quarterback playing for them, a guy that we can clearly name on our team, they're not having the same success that they're having. And I think what people need to start to do is, and we had this same thing, it's like with Josh Allen. Someone told me that they were overrated. All that guy did was put his team on his back and win the game for the Bills, even though they were playing the Cardinals. Jordan Love was all over the place, making throw after throw after throw. He missed a few when the defense stood up for, the Eagles. That's what they get paid to do. But he had a solid game, and I'm not going to anoint him like he's there, but Green Bay know why they gave him the extension early. They know why they gave him that extension early. They were technically, a Super Bowl contender. I don't know what's going to happen now with Malik Willis starting. I hope he looks good for the sake of Matt LaFleur, and then he can go somewhere else next year and be a starter or something like that. But we'll see what happens with that team. We could have seen a preview of the NFC Championship game. Who knows?
I mean, it's a possibility, man. It's a possibility. Green Bay, as long as Malik Willis or whoever else is going to end up could be potentially quarterback in this team while Jordan Love is out. I mean, if they can keep their head above the water, you could see them at the end, man, there in the NFC Championship game. But yeah, as far as like I said, this Eagles team, you don't think there's no real room for concern just with the sluggish start. You think it's just they didn't play in the preseason at all. They're shaking off the rust potentially. This is clearly a good team. You look at all the weapons they have on paper and whatnot, and the fact, like you said, they were able to still rally and pull and get the W on Friday when they clearly didn't play their best football. So
Yes, that's what I will say. If you want
uh,
to take the positive out of the game, that's what you take. That's the one positive I take. Besides the winning, besides the other positive, what I'm saying is the resiliency to not. I mean, they gave up the ball two times in the red zone, and their defense held up enough where they only gave up two field goals, and those two possessions became critical down the stretch because had Green Bay scored a touchdown on one of those drives, we're probably talking about either a Green Bay win or Green Bay going down to kick a field goal to win the game or something along those lines. They lost by 5, right? So if you lose by 5 and and you have a touchdown on one of those drives, you're winning right now by 5 instead of losing by 5. And that field goal at the end, or that botched punt that happened, with um, with with Jalen Hurts comes to fruition.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Really have much more from this one, man. Like I said, good win for the Eagles. They're 1-0 right now, tied with the Cowboys at the top of the NFC East division. But I don't really have much more to take from this one for right now. If you want to get ready to move on to what is probably going to be a slightly longer segment.
Yeah, I'm ready to move on.
You ready? You ready for the fire, guys? Out there in the chat, y'all ready for some fire right now? About to get it, man. Because we are going to
Smoke.
move on to the 1 o'clock window on Sunday. And the only team in the NFC is playing at 1 o'clock on Sunday was the New York. No, they're not the New York Football Giants. They're just the New York Giants right now. They don't get that football in the middle of that name right now. They don't deserve that right now. The New York Giants hosting the Minnesota Vikings 100-year anniversary. You got legends on top of legends on top of legends in the building. Lawrence Taylor, the greatest New York Giant of all time, in the building. Eli Manning, Phil Simms, just like I said, go on and on with the guys that were there. But we had a game to play. What's going on, Wells? Appreciate you stopping in. There was a game to play, and yeah, it didn't go very well for the New York Giants. It was a disgrace. It was an absolute disgrace, and it was an embarrassment. An embarrassment on a day like that when you got all these legends on hand, just having those guys in the building, that couldn't motivate you to go out there and put forth a better effort when you see all that greatness around you, and you still go out there. And it's okay to lose because you're just not the better team, but to lose the way they lost, it was a fucking joke. It was a fucking joke. You go out there, you playing against a team that's led by Sam Darnold, that now all of a sudden everybody thinks, oh, Sam Darnold, this is what he probably needed, the Minnesota, yeah, this is finally the opportunity he needed. No, he beat the pathetic ass New York Giants. So calm down, people, with all that Sam Darnold fucking love fest that people been on the last couple of days, acting like he's just getting ready all of a sudden be some new guy. I think the 49ers will bring him down to reality this weekend. I think they'll bring him right back down to reality this weekend. Just saying. But enough of that. This New York Giant team, man, it's crushed my soul watching this game on Sunday. It crushed my soul because nobody showed up. Nobody except for Jamie Gillian, and the punter. Yeah, he showed up. He came in ready to do his job, and he did it quite well. To be quite frank, he had a great day punting the football. Great fucking day, Jamie Gillian. Hats off to you, bro. Great day punting the football. Dexter Lawrence, he was solid. Obviously, Dexter is gonna always give you what he's gonna give you. He's gonna be solid. You can count on Dex all day. And the O line, it's legitimately upgraded. I can say it wasn't a great performance necessarily, but it was still, you can see the upgrade across the O line. Definitely better offensive line play than we've been used to over the last several years here for the New York Giants. Yet we still got one more guy running out that tunnel that seems to cancel anything out that this team does, man. Anything out. And y'all know who I'm talking about. Number 8. And as long as he continues to run out that tunnel, this team ain't going nowhere fast. It ain't going nowhere at all. As long as he keeps running out that tunnel. I can't even remember who it was. It might have been that guy, Manuel, whatever his name is on ESPN, whatever his name is. When he said it best. You can add Brian Burns, you can add Malik Neighbors, you can add this person and that person and that person, and then you get to Daniel Jones, and it's like hitting times 0. And you know what times 0 does? It just it erases everything. It's 0. It means nothing. It's like on a calculator. You hit times 0. It doesn't matter how big the number was before that. This guy is he's ruining this team, and people just keep manufacturing excuses for him continuously. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like he's the only problem with this football team. But damn it, he's the quarterback. He's the biggest problem with this football team, and he's the highest paid player on this football team. And it's absolutely ridiculous that we got to sit here and keep listening to people continuously manufacture excuse on top of excuse. Oh, it was a poor game plan. The play calling was terrible. You still got to execute. You still have to execute. And that's what there was I was a major lack of execution Sunday, man. Adam, I've been talking for a minute. You go ahead and I'm calm down for a second so I can maybe start talking some sensible shit.
Well, listen, folks out there, I told you so. Okay, this is what I've been telling you for weeks. He's a liability on the field. Yes, the offensive play calling was atrocious, and I'll get to Brian Dable in a minute because his ass just pulled a Joe Judge in the middle of this game, which I don't understand. But the problem that I have, that I've always had, and I've always told you what the issue was and could be, was this man being a liability. He can't read defense. You know the Vikings are laughing at us? They're laughing at us. There's an article in the paper today that Greenlaw said he felt sorry for Daniel Jones when they were booing him in the game. And he's like, well, we knew he was done after the second drive. After the second drive of the game, they said goodnight to lights. Goodnight to lights. They knew it was over. They laughed at us. The Van Ginkel play, he's like, we knew he would throw that ball. I just didn't think he would throw it to me. They know what's going on. His hand at poker, they know it. This is not about practice. This is not about, who he is or if he's a bad guy. This is about poor football, poor execution, poor mechanic. He got baited by Harrison Smith on a red zone interception that you shouldn't have got baited by. And if you watch the receiver, the ball would have been behind the guy anyway. He was inaccurate. He didn't do anything, and he heard the boos. And I'm glad that somebody booed him after the game. I'm glad that he got that boo. He needs to hear that shit. He's been coddled for too long. And you know what? I don't want to hear if he bounces back in this game because he's playing a team that he's fucking familiar with. The way he played football last week, we're never going to win a game, period. Because some of the concepts that he did and some of the tape that's being watched, they weren't killing, Daniel Jones just because of that. They were killing Daniel Jones because the defense they were running was basic shit. Basic defense we were running out there. They weren't doing exotic blitzes. They weren't bringing 5 different guys. They did it on occasion. On occasion. And I told you guys, I sat on this platform this time last week, and I said to you guys, watch out for Sam Darnold. He might come in here with a better coach and do a little bit more than you guys expect, and that's what he did. I said, watch out, because on defense, Brian Flores will have this guy. Well, guess what? By Thursday, Ivan Pace was already laughing at us, and by Sunday, they were giggling in the locker room because of how bad it was. So, on top of that, let me get into Brian Dable for a minute. Because Dable, as Charlie likes to call him, Dable Unstable, and Charlie from Portland, Maine, if you guys know Big Blue Kickoff Live, he's the guy who has Maine lobsters. He calls Dable Unstable. And what he did in the third quarter, down by 3 scores, and you turn around and hand the ball off to Devin Singletary, what are you doing? One, it told me you were giving up. Okay, you didn't care about winning. You still had plenty of time in the game to try to make it a game, so to speak. You didn't care about winning. Okay, you didn't trust your quarterback because you didn't, whether or not they call plays downfield, he didn't throw it down the field. Whether that was by design or because of sheer incompetence, he didn't do it. And you're running a play in that part of the game. You should be telling your quarterback to, 1, speed up the tempo, and 2, don't call a fucking running play where we're down 3 scores. That's my problem with this team. And then last but not least, Joe Shane. I hope you watch this debauchery, Joe Shane. I hope you watched it on Sunday. 100-year anniversary, and this is the shit we get. This is the fucking product you put out there. These are the where are the defensive ends? You paid $100 million for one sack that didn't even come from the guy that you paid $100 million to. Are we serious? This team is atrocious. They're not going to win as many. I thought they were going to win 7 games. They're probably not going to win that many because they have number 8 playing quarterback. And this is not people. This is not going to be a go away after this game. He might struggle against Washington. That's a legit concern. And when we preview the game in a little bit, I'll give you my past victory as to why. That's a legit concern. On the other side, can we stop somebody? We gave up 100 yards rushing. It looked like they were doing nothing out there. It was a snooze fest. We couldn't get any pressure on defense. We couldn't handle their receivers. It's 4th and 2 inside their own goal line, and they know that our offense is so inept and their defense is playing well, but they decided to go for it and get a touchdown. It's just enough is enough with this team. And at this point, I don't care if they're here next year. I don't give a shit if they're here next year. If I were John Mara and I'm looking at what Saquon Barkley just did on Friday and the product we put out on Sunday, or if this was college football, this would be the equivalent of a booster game or an alumni game. You know, where you would bring in all your alumni to get your boosters up and everything like that. You brought them all in the building. Look at this new team. Donate, donate, donate. If I were a booster, I'd be asking for my refund check. Like, I hope that refund check hits the mail because I'm not paying for this debauchery. And I'll tell you this, it's not going away anytime soon. It's not going to be fixed in a week. Okay. They had the team, you had Jalen Hyatt walking away from his press conference or time with the media. You had Kayvon Thibodeau rolling his eyes with the questions that he got. This team is about to unravel, and it's going to happen sooner than you think. All you got to do, sit back, relax, and get your popcorn ready because it's going to be a fucking fiery end to the next 16 games. I don't know where Mac is, but it just and how can you, as a Giant fan, and I want all the haters out there, all the people that hated on me, that threw me under the bus. If you can't see after this performance that we have a major issue and a liability on the field, you think the Commanders are not going to do what the fucking Vikings did? Every team knows that we have a problem in the offensive backfield, and they're not going to do anything but put a blitz here, put a blitz there, put a little pressure on. And like I told you, we'll get into the next team in a little bit and the preview the game, but you can't win like this. You can't win with that effort you had. And the worst part about it is, here's what I think. I think this was worse than the Dallas loss. And Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The reason why I think this is worse than the Dallas loss because at least with the Dallas loss, I expect that team to be in the playoffs or fighting for the Super Bowl or they kicked our ass. This was bad because this was a team in your weight class that you had a chance to beat, and you got the doors blown off in front of your people during a ceremony. That's why. You know what Carl Banks said? Carl Banks and LT were talking. And this is Carl Banks, who I went after on Twitter for saying, why don't you call out the quarterback? He was talking to LT in the press box. And LT tells him, he goes, we could take 22 guys and we could beat these guys. Meaning 11 guys on offense and 11 guys on defense, they'd kick our ass. That's how pathetic this team is. That's how pathetic they did their fans. That's how pathetic they did their alumni. Mac, are you there? I think Mac's having some technical difficulties. But regardless, this should end.
Muted. My fault. I'm sorry. I was muted. I got it. Well, here's the legends would have kicked our ass that day. Lawrence Taylor and all them old 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old motherfuckers that were in the building watching that day would have kicked the Giants' ass that day because that's how pathetic the Giants were on Sunday. But here's some numbers I can't get out of my fucking head. Daniel Jones, since he signed that contract, the $80 million guaranteed. This guy, since he signed that fucking deal, 3 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions. That's what he's delivered to the New York Giants because he's put pen to fucking paper with all that fucking money this team is paying that motherfucker. 3 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
3 pick
That's what we got.
Too, by the way.
That's what we've gotten from Daniel Jones. That's what we've gotten from this guy since he signed that contract. 3 touchdowns and 8 fucking picks.
I think it's worse than that.
What's going on, Alex? Thanks for stopping in.
2 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and 3 pick sixes. So he has 3 more. He's given the other team more points than he's thrown for. So just put that into perspective. And by the way, people, this is Mac saying this. This is not Adam. This is Mac saying this. So all your pitchforks and your torches and everything like that, you can either blow them out and turn around, or you can come for him, because I've been telling you that I've been on this island of QB mockery for years by myself, ivory tower, right, looking over the ocean as more and more people flock to the island. Well, all of you guys that said that you want a quarterback, or you're blaming the offensive play calling, don't give an excuse. It's time to change. And this is what I said last year. I said last year, had Daniel Jones played, we probably have a worse record than we do last year with Tommy DeVito and competent quarterbacks. The question I have for you, Mac, and this is the question that every Giant fan should have: what game will it be that they sit down Daniel Jones? What game do you think it will be? Because I think it's coming. I think the inevitable is coming.
If he comes out there on Sunday against the Washington Commanders, a team that he has owned overall in his career, like I said, the only thing he's done consistently is play well against the Washington Commanders. If he comes out there on Sunday and looks anything like he did this last Sunday against Minnesota, I don't want to see Daniel Jones under center again. That's how I feel personally. And I don't care that we got Cleveland and Dallas and then whoever coming up. Because it doesn't fucking matter anyway. It doesn't matter anyway. It won't. That's all irrelevant. I don't want to hear about the opponents and Daniel Jones will give us such a better chance against any of those fucking teams. I don't want to hear that. If he comes out and looks like he did last Sunday again this Sunday, I don't want to see him under center again, because he was just missing on passes and people were acting like ignoring that shit. I mean, I know there were some drops in there too. The receivers ain't off the hook. There was definitely some drops out there as well. But, I mean, he was missing guys. I mean, still throwing at people's feet. Can you throw Wan'Dale Robinson the football and let him actually have an opportunity to do what he does best, what he's actually capable of, and making some moves and picking up some yak? I mean, he's a former running back. That's something he's actually can do if you can actually hit him in fucking stride, ever. But you seem to never be able to do that. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous to watch this guy. And you talk about Brian Dable, the coaching staff, whatever. Jalen, you trade up 2 years ago in the draft to get Jalen Hyatt in the 3rd round, and then we don't put him in until the 4th quarter because we rather have Bryce Ford Wheaton out there.
Like, really? Like why did you draft this guy?
I'm just confused at what this team is doing. I'm confused. I can't figure it out. I've been a fan since '85. I have never seen this level of Giant football ever. I've never seen it be this bad. Ever. And I've seen some bad years, but it ain't never been this bad. This is ridiculous.
And everybody's healthy.
Like, I've never seen shit like this. Kayvon Thibodeau, you're after the game, you're talking about a quarterback pressure you had. Oh, whoop-de-fucking-do. You got one quarterback pressure. Like, what's that, bro? You just got your ass kicked, and you're talking about one quarterback pressure you had. That's not what you out there for, bro. That's not what you out there for. I just don't understand it, man. This team is doesn't look like they even belong in the NFL.
There's something going on
at this point. And I know people say, oh, no, you can't no college team beat the NFL team. I'm sorry. What I saw on Sunday, I think the better college teams could fucking get the Giants and run for their money. I think they could. I'm sorry. Because what I saw on Sunday was just a disgrace. And it was hard to watch as a fan. that loves this team.
I didn't even wear their gear.
It's just crazy to me. Like I can't seem to figure it out because you watched like the Hard Knocks, you watched all of that stuff, you see how things went down in the off season and la da 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 da. And I don't want to make this about Saquon Barkley because it's not. He's on the Philadelphia Eagles now. Whatever, it is what it is. He's gone. He's not a New York Giant. But clearly, you signed the wrong guy, Joe. You put value in the wrong guy, Joe.
He looked like he was bitter too. That's what.
Then you try to validate the shit during the summer when you watching. Like you're trying to validate it. You like your little cocky little grins on your face and all this whatnot and craziness, man. Like you let your best offensive weapon walk out the door, and we're gonna run it back with Daniel. All these good quarterbacks coming out in the draft, we're not going to pick any of them. We're not even going to bring any of those guys in. Oh, you got some guys in free agency floating around. We bring in Drew Lock because that's what we're going to bring in to, be the other guy with Daniel in the room. Because you thought Drew Lock was going to help improve this room enough to, kickstart Daniel. Nah. Daniel Jones is the answer to most of the problems. And then we can keep saying this and that and other problems. It is other problems. But you got to start with the head. And he's the quarterback. He's supposed to be the leader of your team. He's got that C on his chest. I don't even know how y'all keep voting this guy captain. Is he just getting honorary captain because he's the quarterback? Because there's no way you can convince me that he's the true leader of this football team.
Yeah,
So I don't get that either. I don't understand what because he's the quarterback, he has to automatically be the captain. No. That dude don't deserve that C on his chest. He should rip that shit off. I'd rip it off for him. Because he doesn't deserve that.
Well, that's why they don't play with the old school cats.
Can't stand behind that, man. I can't. It's just
well,
like I'm sitting here watching the game Sunday, and then the game plan. I'm listening to people talk, and they're saying about the game plan. All they keep talking about is the play calling. Yeah, the play calling was bad. Not even disagreeing with that. But the fact is, at some point, you still have to execute, people. You got to execute, man. And this team showed no signs of that. I don't want to dwell on all the negative. There were a couple of small positives, man. Like that kid Drew Phillips, man. He's a plugger, man. I respect the guy that plays the game like that. I mean, he's a plugger, and I hope to see him continue to grow, man. Like, and maybe he can become a future star on this team. I mean, I like the way he sticks his nose in there, man. He's coming up, not afraid of contact, like a lot of some of these little diva cornerbacks are. He goes up in there and sticks his nose in there. I mean, he made the big play, forced the fumble that Bobby Okereke recovered, and it wasn't for that, this score would have been 28-3. I mean, honestly, it would have been 20. It wasn't for that. It would have been 28-3 because we were already in field goal range when we got that turnover.
They wanted the shutout. So
just think about that. Think about that as well. Because even the other field goal we got they took a 50-yard field goal. Like, come on, we barely got across midfield offensively.
Right.
I mean, a Minnesota Viking defense that, they're much improved from what we saw a couple of years ago. But at the end of the day, like I said, I'll be real curious to see how this Minnesota team looks against San Fran on Sunday. Because I guarantee they're going to have some very different results. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. I think they have some different results.
Sam Darnold's like
when they play against an actual, a competent football team. Sam Darnold looked like Joe Montana. He was sitting back there. He was cooking breakfast, bro. Like frying his eggs, flipping his flapjacks. Like how do you not put pressure on Sam Darnold? How is that even possible? That's all you gotta do with a guy like him.
Well,
but
that's that vaunted defense. I kept telling you guys the top 10 defense was a reach with this defensive coordinator. Who, by the way, can you make an adjustment Can you make an adjustment? You came out at halftime and it seemed like you did the same shit. People did. You know what? We talk about the offense. I'll tell you what's happening right now. This team is a product of what they believe in. And right now, they don't believe in the coach and they don't believe in the quarterback because the coach is still going with the quarterback. So they don't believe in it. And you know why? Because momentum means something. Momentum means something. And what the Vikings were doing on defense, they knew their offense was coming. So they just did what they had to do to get off the field and keep the Giants at bay. Our defense was dejected because they kept us in the game the first couple drives, right? Because they had to punt and do all this other stuff, right? And the drive that broke their back was the 99-yard drive. How do you let a team like Sam Darnold march 99 yards down the field? And that was when I knew the game was over. The defense is going to give up plays. They're not going to be this vaunted defense that everyone chose. And I'll tell you why. Because you brought in guys for Wink Martindale who you let walk out the door. So now you bring in Shane Bowen and expect him to do something when these guys don't fit the tools that he needs for his defense to work. Okay, that's what he needs. He had the Nico Autry, he had Jeffrey Simmons, he had a few other guys down there that were good front four. They ran really more of a 4-3 hybrid. We're running Isaiah Simmons out there against receivers, right? They ran. I mean, what's happening right? What I'm telling you right now is, folks, this is not good. Sound the alarm bells. No matter what happens in Washington, good, bad, or otherwise, this team is not winning again. If they, the only other game I see them actually being, winning is the Panther game. This game in that we'll talk about, but let's get to the other teams first. But to put a bow on it like this, everybody's at fault in this game. The coach for not having them ready. I blame the coach for, for not having this team prepared the way they needed to be. I don't want to hear about the stupid joint practices anymore. That shit is dumb. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about, we were good against the Lions. This team is terrible. And until they and I feel like their team is only going to go as far as the quarterback is going to take them emotionally. And if that guy they know is going to be a liability on the field, you're going to see a lot more outbursts of what you saw with Kayvon Thibodeau and Jalen Hyatt. More and more is going to come. This team is they're on panic mode. They're asking John Runyon about Daniel Jones. They're asking the quarterback, the coach, if he's going to be benched. They're asking, Kayvon Thibodeau, he's not answering questions. Jalen Hyatt's walking out the fucking locker room. Other people are saying that we need the coach is calling out the quarterback saying we have to throw the ball downfield. Like, this is going to be a dumpster fire, people. And I'm here for it. I'm ready to watch it burn because these people clearly, Kenneth said something before. First I want to answer this, but I want to answer something else he asked. He said, were they in over their head, Shane and Dable? No, they're first-time coaches that are in year 3. What I mean by that is all the mistakes they made went out the window when they won that first year. So if he was doing this the first 2 years, and this was year number 2, and we're like, all right, they didn't need their quarterback, they signed Daniel, whatever the case may be, fine. But you neglected the quarterback position. You went for a win now approach. And if you don't win now, your ass should be on the line and you should be out the door. That's how I feel it should happen. And that's what they deserve for this. They miscalculated. They could have, if they drafted a quarterback right now and they had somebody in here, even a Spencer Rattler, I probably wouldn't be as angry as I am right now. But I'm angry because I don't have to look forward to Drew Lock. I don't necessarily want to see Drew Lock. The only reason I want to see Drew Lock is because he's not fucking Daniel Jones. And that means that experiment will be over. That's the only reason I want to see Drew Lock. I don't think he's going to be any better.
Well, I definitely agree with that. But as far as Kendall's question here, is Kayvon looking like a bust? I mean, look, he's coming off an 11 sack season, whatever, last year. So it's hard to take it quite to that extreme, but he needs to become a consistent player. He is far from consistent, and he needs to start generating some consistency, or he better not be getting a second contract with this football team. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily take it to the extreme of a bust, but at the same time,
he disappears.
I gotta keep circling back to this guy. I got to keep circling back to this is the Daniel Jones effect, man. Like,
Well,
No one truly has confidence in this guy, even on the defensive side of the football. They know they're going to be out there getting gassed because they know the offense is just going to go out there and it's just going to be 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, whatever. You know what I mean? Short, quick drives, back on the field again. So this all takes. This is a ripple effect. The Daniel Jones is a ripple effect throughout the entire team. It affects the entire roster. I would love to be a fly on the wall, like in Malik Neighbors' apartment or whatever Sunday night when he's there alone, whatever, on the maybe talking to whoever on the phone, speaking candidly because there's no cameras in his face, no one around. I would love to be a fly on the wall and hear the things how he truly feels about his quarterback. I would love
if
to know
those
the answers to these questions
if those walls could talk,
because
right?
that pick six, I'm gonna go to that pick six too real quick before we move on. That pick six, look, people were trying to, Jermaine Luminor didn't go out there and get and chop Van Wilker, whatever his name is, Rip Van Winkle, whatever the fuck his name is, didn't get him, not getting chop him down. But Daniel Jones, you have to recognize that. The good quarterbacks, the great quarterbacks recognize those things and say, oh, I can't throw this pass. Not Daniel Jones. I'm going to just throw it to you anyway, even though you're standing right there. It's like, it's just the things like that I can't
Because
wrap
he's
my head
dumb,
around, and
Alex.
I
He's
can't
dumb.
do it anymore.
He's
And I
dumb,
can't
Alex.
do it anymore.
To answer your question,
But
Kenneth,
yeah, Adam,
I think Kayvon is just
I'm sorry. Yeah, go
underwhelming.
ahead.
For a top 5 pick, you want him to be generate a little bit more pressure, not necessarily sacks, but pressures. One pressure is not good. You want multiple. You want him to be a disruptor. You want him to be what you think Brian Burns was. Remember, Brian Burns was 16th overall, right? This is a 5th round pick. If you're saying has he not lived up to his draft status, yes, I can say that. I don't think he's lived up to his draft status. Do I think he had a good season? And I hope that he progresses and bails off that 11 sack season. I do, but I don't know if he's the Justin Tuck or Pierre Paul or any of those guys. I think he is who he is. He's a moody player, and if he's in the mood, he's good. If he's not, he's not. Yeah, that's basically it. That's all I got there.
Yeah. Yeah. Adam, like Adam said, because he's clearly an idiot, man. Because I don't know how in the hell you didn't know they had that one sniffed out. I mean, yeah. If anybody don't remember, Van Ginkel was also the one who ran right around what's his name last year and absolutely
Oh no,
destroyed Daniel Jones.
Zudu.
And that
Zudu.
the other one, Zudu, and it absolutely destroyed Daniel Jones last year when he was playing for Miami. Yeah, that was the same guy that took the pick six on Sunday
To
as
the
well.
house.
So yeah, he's made Daniel Jones absolutely his bitch. Yeah, that's safe to say that's accurate.
So yes, then this is the problem that we have with Kayvon Thibodeau. This is the last point. We'll move on because there's some other games. I want to preview a few things, but this is why I said Kayvon Thibodeau's problem. They said on during draft day that he took plays off. It's not that he takes plays off. He's just not consistently have that motor that other guys have, that relentless ability all the time. It kind of like he has to be in the mood. Otherwise, he gets taken out of the games against quality tackles. And that's why 8.5 of his 15 overall sacks have come against two of the worst teams in football the last 2 years, the Jets and the Commanders. And that's like Daniel Jones. I need to see it against the teams where you have the good tackles, the Trent Williams of the world, the Cowboy offensive line, the Eagles offensive line, those teams. You can't be shut out because if they are shut out by this average line, now, like Vikings have decent tackles, but they're not. The one's an all pro and the other one's just average. If you can't beat these guys, we're gonna have a long season. And I don't think the defense is built the way people think it's gonna be built. I think it's gonna be a long season. I do.
Yeah, Brian Burns was definitely disappointing, but I still got some hope that he'll wake up and get some things will come together a little bit. Hopefully with the whole front because that it was weak. I mean, you had a little bit of pass rush in the very first drive of the game, first couple drives of the game, and then that shit was gone, man. It just went away. But we got to move on. We've been on the Giants far too long, man, and it's time to move on. We're going.
They don't deserve
How
this
about we go to
airspace.
let's see the Dallas Cleveland game, man. Let's take it there, man. Dallas and Cleveland. And Dallas Cowboys, I would say by far look the best out of the four NFC East teams. That defense is humming on Sunday. That defense
Ferocious.
is humming. To the six, I mean, 6 sacks. I mean, that was one on the game. I mean, they didn't really do a whole lot offensively, to be honest. Like it did nothing spectacular offensively, but they own the Cleveland Browns. I mean, defensively, Deshaun Watson. Maybe it's time to just, he's not the guy, man. He's not like he's never going to. At this point, it's looking like he may not get back to that form he had to what he was in Houston. Because Dallas Cowboys went out there and they owned his ass, man. And it wasn't pretty, man. The Cowboys defense was just all over the field, man. And it's looking like they're going to be a problem. And especially once if that offense does wake up, which I'm sure it will.
Well, they were playing the Cleveland
That
defense.
contract
Not
a
for
little
nothing.
bit or something.
Not for nothing. They were playing a solid
That
defense.
is also something. That is something to think about, man. That's right. That's good food for thought. But what you think about the Cowboys in this performance, man? Because it was a pretty sensational one.
Well, first off, I want to say this to people. I told you Mike Zimmer would have an effect on this defense. I told you that Mike Zimmer would make Micah Parsons the beast that we saw. And that guy was all over the field. They moved him to the left, to the right. He came up the middle. He came from the right. He was not off the field. You know why? Because Mike Zimmer knows how to use him. I said to many people that one of the best offseason moves was getting Mike Zimmer because he's going to change it. The second one was getting Kendricks. Kendricks was all over the field as well. They have a linebacker that knows this defense, that can line everybody up, and they're going to be – this defense, I feel, is better than it was with Dan Quinn. And that's damn near impossible almost because their defense is pretty good with Dan Quinn. I think, and I hate to say this, they have a Super Bowl caliber defense. That if they stay healthy, their defense won't be the reason why they're exiting out of the playoffs, like last year, when even though Dak did have some bad throws in that game, if their defense made any stops at all against Green Bay, they would have won in that game because Dak came back that much. They didn't do nothing. And if they play like this, and I know it's game one, but you look at a team that was the Cleveland Browns are an easy team for the Cowboys to pick on because they don't do much. They run the football, and they try to do play action pass, and they try to get downfield. So it plays right into the Cowboys' hands. Cleveland had no shot. Defensively, the Cowboys still gave up 3 sacks to that line, and they're going to be ferocious with Myles Garrett and that team. So I don't think it's over for Cleveland just yet. They might need to figure out who their quarterback is. I did rewatch some of the highlights. I think it was both on the receivers and Watson. Watson didn't look good, but there were some times where his guys didn't really bail him out as well. And I'm not saying those are going to change the dynamic of the game much, but he hit Amari Cooper dead in the hands, a guy who's normally reliable, drops a football. So I want to see if they play a lesser competition this week. Actually, I don't think they play lesser competition this week. I think they play somebody good, actually, but if he bounces back. If not, and they go 0-2, it's time for Jameis Winston. As far as the Cowboys offense goes, I was a little impressed by Zeke Elliott. Didn't think he had that much spring in his step, but he did, and he looked a little confident. They have a little bit of a run game with the complement of receivers that they have. They lost Ferguson, unfortunately, but I'm sure they'll pick another tight end and loop him right in, and he'll be another guy that gets a Pro Bowl. But I could see the Cowboys, and their young receivers are coming through. They had a kickoff return for a touchdown. Their special teams look good, right? They had an interception return for a touchdown as well, right? So they're firing on all cylinders. It looked like the Cleveland Browns were still in preseason mode, and the Cowboys were looking to rectify what they did. I told people during the season, you got to watch when you watch practice. You got to watch practice of the things that you know you're watching for. And when I was watching their Cowboys practice, and people were like, "Oh, CD left," and they're still hitting bombs in stride, Dak Prescott looking in prime form, they came out and played like it. They didn't need to do much, like Max said, because that's how dominant they were. And the numbers aren't going to reflect how good of a game it was, because that's what's going to happen. But you got to give credit to the Cleveland defense. 2 of their touchdowns weren't given up by, weren't given up by the offense, right? Weren't given up by the defense. One was a return, And another was like a fumble or a pick six. I think they returned. That could have. It could be more. So you got to take those points into account as well. In the grand scheme of things. So I think the Cowboys. Everybody tells me, "Oh, they didn't do anything during the offseason." Well, buckle up, people. Buckle up because they coming.
Oh, I mean, yeah, this Cowboy team. I was impressed watching this game on Sunday, man. Like I was just like, expect the Cowboys to be good. Like I said, like I've been, but I like before the season started, I was like, all about kind of more about the Eagles, what the Eagles did this all season, and
Right.
how much they've improved, considering how good they already were. But this Cowboy team came out, and they made a statement on Sunday. 'Cause they didn't just, like you said, they beat a good Cleveland football team. This team is no, Cleveland ain't scrubs. Cleveland's going to be battling in the AFC, man. They're going to be battling that AFC North division with the Steelers and the Ravens and the Bengals. I mean, best division in football by far. By far the
Right.
best division in football. I mean, top to bottom. But and they're going to be in there, and they're going to be a factor. They're going to have something to say about things in that division, man. And they went out there, and the Cowboys took it to them, man. Punched them right in the face, like you said. And it was about the defense. We already know what the Cowboys usually. We speak about what they can do offensively, and they got a couple of guys like Micah Parsons and such on the defensive side of the ball. But overall, man, it was just a great performance by this Dallas Cowboy team. And now here I am having to give the Dallas Cowboys props. I hate doing this. Why? Why can't you be better, New York Giants? So I can give you this kind of praise. Why has it got to be like this? Why has it come to this where I got to sit here and say good things about the Eagles and Cowboys, and I can't say hardly anything good about my New York Giants? I mean, why does Tyrod Taylor have more touchdown passes than Daniel Jones already this season? Why is that? Riddle me that. I mean, I can't. I can't anymore. I can't. I just don't. I don't know. I'm losing my mind
Mac
right now a
Mac
little
is
bit.
losing the number. This is what Daniel Jones has done to people. They are losing their damn minds, man. And my mind's not lost because I've been on the island for 3 years already. So I'm here chilling with my mai tais and the coconut drinks.
What's going on, Jay Thomas, man? Thank you for stopping in, bro. Appreciate you, man. Washington Commanders guy right there.
Straight Chiefs.
We'll be going head up this weekend, man. Like I said, the only
How
thing
come?
Jones has done good in his career is beat up on you guys, man. But we'll
How
see what
come?
happens this week.
How come? How come? Like fucking, Jones gets all this money. He's straight stealing. How come we don't put an FBI hit on this guy? He's stealing money from the New York Giants, literally stealing money. I knew it was I knew it was bad. I knew it was bad when I heard all the stories about his agent and all this stuff. This motherfucker wanted to ask for $47 million, and I'm like, you know why? Because he knows this is the last contract he's ever gonna get. He's ever gonna get, and I'm telling you this right now. Enjoy it, Daniel Jones. Enjoy your $80 million because soon you'll be pushing fucking pencils at fucking H&R Block, bro.
All right, well, we'll see. We will see, man. I don't know. You want to get to Washington a little bit, man?
Sure,
Move on to
sure.
Washington, or you got anything else to say about the Cowboys?
Nah, the
All right,
Cowboys are.
Washington, Tampa Bay, man. Let's
Yep.
go on down to Washington, man. They took taking on them Tampa Bay Buccaneers Sunday, coming out there with their rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels, who, by the way, did look the best out of the three rookies that started this past Sunday, man. Look, for what it's worth, none of them really looked all that great, but Jaden Daniels definitely looked the best out of the three this week. And they got their asses kicked. Let's call it what it is, man. But there was never no quitting this football team, and they definitely were continued to keep swinging all the way to the end. I mean, even Baker Mayfield had probably one of the best games of his career. Obviously, I mean Baker Mayfield was flinging the ball all over the place. Thank you for that because I had you starting in the fantasy, bro. Always appreciate those numbers. Always appreciate those numbers. But but Jaden Daniel, man, look, he looks. What you think about the Washington Commanders and what you saw from their young quarterback?
Well, after looking at some of the game and seeing what they did, it would look worse than it is. But when you get down to the brass tacks of it all, they weren't that bad, right? They missed 2 field goals. which would have made the score 26-37, which isn't as bad. And then they missed a touchdown. Which you add that if you add that in there, they're almost at 30 points, right? He missed Terry McLaurin for a 70-yard bomb. So I'm not saying you hit those, but I'm saying to be in position to get those are points, right? And those 2 field goals meant that they were in position. Now they aren't supposed to win, so the fact that they went out and scored 20 points, were in position to score almost 30 points, against a team that we may have to reevaluate who we're putting in the Final Four, right? Because I would have said Atlanta, but we might have to look at Tampa Bay and say, well, man, they came out and they did what they had to do. And we talk about Jaden Daniels. I think he did well. He had 88 yards rushing. You'd rather probably have more from Brian Robinson. He put the ball where it needed to be and had a touchdown or close to it with Brian Robinson. He played an effective game at 2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, if you look at it, he had more yards than our fucking quarterback played, right? And more touchdowns. So if you're comparing that, yeah, sure. Did he play as good as Caleb Williams? Caleb Williams was shitty. He had like 94 yards. Bo Nix looked like trash, but it is what it is. He did what he needed to do, and if he plays like that on Sunday, we're going to lose the football game. Defensively, they have some problems in the backfield. I'm not saying they're a good defense, but when you read about how much yardage they gave up to Mike Evans, 61 yards, yeah, sure, he had 2 touchdowns, and that's what really killed him, the Commanders. But to hold a guy to under 100 yards, it's pretty good. Now the touchdowns, obviously you're getting out-bodied by a Hall of Famer. They play the games like that. But your other corner getting burned by Chris Godwin, they made some adjustments. And, guys probably this is the first time in the defense with this team out there. So you're probably going to see some growing pains. I don't expect those same growing pains next week. If I'm a Commander fan, I'm mad that we lost. I understand why we lost, but I'm happy about where we're probably progressing if we can get our guys to kind of get it together. And remember, they're, again, against Tampa Bay, not their weight class. That's not who Washington's going to steal victories from. The New York Giants, that's their weight class. Okay, that's where, and I look at them, and they scored 20 points on a defense that was swarming them. That was all over the place. They still scored 20 points, still got in the field goal range. Their offense moved the football. If they do that against this team, if they do this against the Giants on Sunday, they will win the game. So a team like the Commanders, while they got beaten by the Buccaneers, this again, they're not playing. The Buccaneers aren't on their weight class. The Buccaneers trying to get the Super Bowl. The Commanders are just trying to build. And I don't think Dave Daniels played horribly. I mean, I've seen worse quarterback play across the league, and he's a rookie. So my expectations for him are to be lower than maybe a guy who's a 6-year veteran or, who's been in the league a lot longer or has been in the offense long, right? This guy's his first NFL game. And when you watch the NFL game, when you watch this game on Sunday, you're like, damn, the Commanders might have a guy in Jaden Daniels.
I agree with that assessment. My problem when I watch this game with Jaden Daniels is, young man, this is the NFL, bro. This is not the SEC anymore. You got to learn how to protect yourself. You got to slide. You got to take care of you. They drafted you to be the franchise quarterback. And honestly, 16 carries, that's not what I want to see my franchise quarterback having 16 carries, man. I just don't. I know that's a part of his game, and I don't want to take away his explosiveness. But at the end of the day, this young man's got to learn how to protect himself because it was a couple of moments in this game, man, where it looked rough. I don't know how much of it you actually got to see, but it was a couple of times where it looked rough.
Yeah.
Some hits that I don't want to see my quarterback out there taking.
He'll learn his lesson. If he didn't learn this week, he'll learn sooner than later. I think some of those runs were because he didn't trust he got a little gun shy, so he ran. I was just reading an article today. This is why I have to do this. This is why I have to do research, people. Can't just look at highlights. You got to do research. And Dan Quinn was saying something similar where he probably should have stayed in the pocket. They agree with you, Mac. They don't want him running 16 times a game, but they also understand they don't want to take away his effectiveness. So what may be happening is when you have a young quarterback who doesn't know everything or doesn't see everything, I'd rather have you get a positive play than not. So if we went back and charted those runs, I would love to see how many were him scrambling and how many were designed runs. And then maybe you need to come up with a balance as an offensive coordinator. Say maybe I'm only going to call 3 or 4 designed runs, but I'm going to drop him back a few more times, which he might run on. Right. So I don't want to take that element away. I think he's going to get better. I think he's going to be more of a passer, especially if you play a team like the Giants who get no pressure on the quarterback. So we'll see, man. I thought he was better than advertised, and I think while I agree with you, he will learn probably. Hopefully, he'll learn how to slide. I'm not Jaden Daniels, but if he learns how to slide and he gets out of bounds, he could be something. So we'll see. I just don't want people to look at this like he's a rookie. He's second overall pick, and he outperformed everybody in his class of quarterbacks, and he played better than our starting quarterback and a few across the league. And the reason why we're poo-pooing him is because he missed some throws and things like that. I think for a first game, was it Daniel Jones 300 2 touchdowns? No, but for a guy that does to have almost 200 yards passing and damn near 100 yards rushing for a rookie, I thought that was pretty good. And 2 touchdowns. Defensively, they have a lot of work.
Well, look, it also did wonders for my fantasy. You know what I mean? That also, for another one of my fantasy teams, he did, had him in there.
But but
the ability to
let me ask you this, man. They left about 13 points on the board. Do you really think they played that bad? If you compared the New York Giants to the Commanders, do you think their game was really that bad, or was it more of a young, rebuilding team trying to find their way against a team that's already established?
It's exactly what you just said. The latter, just exactly. I watched most of the good bit of this game, and that's exactly what I was saying. It's just a young team. I mean, led by a young quarterback out there playing his first NFL game against a team that was in the postseason a year ago.
Right.
The defending division champs from their division a season ago. Like this,
Right.
It wasn't like it was an easy ask to go down there and beat I did pick Washington to get the upset, and they fell short of that. But like I said, this team kept fighting. What I saw was I didn't see the same thing I saw, and we can segue right on into week 2. The New York Giants going down there to Washington, take on the Commanders in their home opener. But the Washington team, they never gave up, man. They still kept fighting, even when the chips were down. It was looking bad. Like I said, Baker just flinging the ball all over the yard, but they never gave up, man. And on Sunday I can say that the New York Giants gave up on Sunday. They gave up. They quit. They laid down. And to Sam Darnold, no less. They laid down. This Washington team never did that. Like you said, a few balls bounced a different way. Like you said, the missed field goals and things and such, but they were still doing some things effectively throughout this football game, and they didn't just completely hand it over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucs still had to earn this victory, whereas Minnesota just came out there and they just pretty much showed up to the stadium that morning, and it was already a wrap. So you want to talk about this game, how you see it maybe potentially playing out, Giants Commanders, man, Sunday? Let's do it.
Giants Commanders. So I'll start with the Giants before I get to the Commanders. Giants, you need to play better overall. Everything. Just everything. Just put a giant. You're going to the store, food shopping, get everything, because that's what you need right now. I know they just signed a return man. You need to be a little bit more creative on offense. I think they might be against this Washington team. However, what I will say is this: if this is how you played against the basic defense, Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne got pressure on Baker Mayfield a couple times, but they failed to wrap up because of Baker Mayfield's pocket presence, being able to maneuver around. Daniel Jones is not Baker Mayfield. They're going to get to him. It's going to be a game where he might have
So
confidence.
cold.
See, he might have confidence seeing the burgundy and gold, but the burgundy and gold are going to have confidence seeing the film that he put out last week and saying we don't have to be an overly aggressive defense. I think the Giants are going to force the ball to Malik Neighbors. They're going to try to force it downfield. They're going to need to establish the run game because they absolutely had nothing. If they can't run the football in this game, it is good night to lights. And they just need better play from the quarterback. And I don't know what I'm going to get because, again, we talk about this guy, and I hate to talk about this team. We talked about it for 45 minutes, but they're that bad. The Giants, this quarterback, read some of the things that are coming out. It's bad. It's not like, oh, he needs to fix it. It's bad. It literally is a guy who is broken, a guy who is a shot fighter, a guy who doesn't anticipate the rush, who doesn't know the rush. And now you're going to play a team that is going home. Now, let me flip it to the Washington side. While I think we will win, is possible. I picked the Commanders to win this game weeks ago when we did our schedule show. And one of the reasons I picked them to win this game was because I thought the Giants would win against Minnesota in an emotional victory. Boy, was I wrong about that. But then I thought coming down to Washington at home, Washington being juiced up for the first time, that crowd is going to be lit. They saw what Jaden Daniels did. They know their expectation. They know what they were expecting week one. We, on the other hand, we're not expecting that. You had Giant fans puffing their chest. We're going to beat this guy, Sam Darnold. Well, guess what? Jaden Daniels is far better talent than Sam Darnold, and he can run. Okay? And he can run. And if they do what they did against Tampa Bay, they're going to beat us. That is going to happen. And don't think momentum doesn't matter. Home field matters. Go ask Kansas City if home field don't matter. Go ask them. They are one of the toughest places to play. Go ask Seattle if they don't think home field matters. When you have a team that you are juiced up to play, and by all means, Washington knows after that shitbag of a performance that the Giants put up this past Sunday, they have a chance, and they have more than a fighting chance to go out there. And they know that we've kicked their ass. They know. You don't think that's going to be reiterated? They know that. Bobby Wagner's out there. He's going to get this defense while he was a step slow last week. When you read the articles, it wasn't because of lack of effort or lack of trying. It's about cohesion, right? And I think they're going to be able to, guard our receiver. Darius Slayton's not even probably going to play this game. So you have Wendell Robinson. You have Neighbors. You don't like Jalen Hyatt, so you're putting in the Bryce Ford Wheaton, right? And let's just say it doesn't go the Giants' way, right? If this defense, who, by the way, the offensive line from the Commanders, while it was bad, they did some things. They ran the football pretty effectively. If you watch Brian Robinson, he ran downhill. He didn't get the ball a lot because of Jaden Daniels, and they were coming from behind. But I expect a heavy dose of Brian Robinson, especially what they did with Aaron Jones last week. If he doesn't have over 100 yards this game, they're doing something wrong. And I can see them playing ball control, move the ball downfield, take their shots on this cheap secondary, because I guarantee you, Scary Terry ain't afraid of none of the corners that play for the Giants. And I wouldn't be surprised if he got behind us a couple of times. And that's all it takes. 2 or 3 big scores, and the Giants being, inept on offense. Because if they last week's performance by the Giants was so bad offensively, I don't know how I can look at them to win. So for me, the emotion of the game, the fact that the Giants put what they put on tape, and the fact that the Commanders know this is what the Minnesota people called last week a soft landing spot, that gives them time to regroup and be, like Max said, not quit. And they know that if they don't quit, that Daniel might give them the ball at a crucial moment, and they may have a chance. So I picked the Commanders this time. I'll stick with it this week as well.
As far as I go with all of that, look, initially, did it way back when the schedule came out, and we were, going down the schedule, picking wins. I initially picked the Giants to split these first 2 games, and they've already lost to the Minnesota Vikings. But after what I witnessed, I can't in full faith pick this New York Giant team to win a football game against pretty much anybody that they would have been playing lined up against playing. Because I know how absolutely terrible the Carolina Panthers also looked. And I know the Bengals looked pretty bad on Sunday, which was mind blowing to me. But I still felt like I saw more effort from those teams than what I saw from the New York Giants. I can't pick the Giants to beat anybody right now until they prove me otherwise. And I know Daniel Jones is, like I say, the only thing consistently he's done his whole career is play well against the Commanders, even in the one time he lost to him, and the tie, or whatever. He's always just seems to play well against his football team. Whatever, something about their colors just brings out the best in him apparently. But I can't do it. I can't do it here. I just can't. Daniel Jones is I can't stand behind him. I can't like I said on the aftermath, I can't get jiggy with this shit. I can't. It's terrible. It's an absolute. What I saw on Sunday offensively from this football team, who the hell we gonna beat? Who the hell we gonna beat like that? I mean, Devin Singletary, 10 carries for 37 yards. Eric Gray, 2 carries for 6 yards. I think we need a little more Eric Gray, maybe. I mean, maybe more than 2 carries. I know the game got away from me, and it kind of started going away from the run a little bit, and you try to put the ball in your $80 million quarterback's hands or whatever. But that clearly, was a bad idea. I mean, with his 22 for 42, 186 yards, with a whopping 4.4 average yard per completion. Like, come on. I mean, Tyrone Tracy, we saw a couple carries from him in the game. But to me, you got to run the football here on Sunday. You're going to have to establish the ground game and get it going. And listen, we don't have Saquon Barkley. Number 26, he's an imposter. He's not Saquon Barkley. He's another guy, okay? Just wearing Saquon Barkley's number. So, he's not a bell cow. He's not the guy. He's not like Saquon. You can't just keep turning around thinking you're going to hand the ball off to just him and only him. Use those weapons. Use those guys you have in that running back room. Send them. They all kind of have contrasting styles too. They're not similar runners. So keep hitting that defense with a little bit of mixture of all of those guys and make it a little more balanced. I don't think you need to try to force Devin Singletary to be the bell cow that he is not. He's never been that his entire career. Okay? I'm not knocking Devin Singletary. I think he's a solid running back. But let's face it, he's not a top running back. He's not that guy. He's not that dude. Okay? So let's not try to pretend that he is. And let's just use all of the running backs and get something out of all of them equally. Daniel Jones, can you read a defense for me, bro? Can you see what's going on around you? Call an audible from time to time, Daniel Jones. They call some shit that is not going to work. Don't just run it anyway. Call an audible. Change some things up. Do what quarterbacks do. Do what leaders do. Step up and assert yourself, man. Like I said, you got a dog out there in Malik Neighbors that's just begging for you to get the ball to him, man. Figure it out, man. Figure it out. With that being said, like I said, I can't pick the Giants. I can't do it after what I saw Sunday. The only team that could even remotely, I think, had even a somewhat of a performance as bad as them was the Carolina Panthers. Other than that, I just can't. I can't pick the Giants not only against Washington, but anybody that's coming up. And honestly, like Adam said, I could see this team. I could possibly, after what I saw Sunday, see this team going over to Germany against Carolina in week, whatever that is, 9 or 10 or whatever it is.
Battle for the number one pick.
At that point. So,
battle for the number one pick.
Yeah, I right now I think it's safe to say that's what we're on right now. It's like, who's going to get it? Giants, Carolina. Giants, because hell, New England went out there. I mean, yeah, sure, they beat they beat Cincinnati without T. Higgins wasn't out there, but at the same time, you still had Jamar Chase. You still got Joe Burrow out there, and New England, who was a team who I also thought was just as bad as the Giants. Maybe they're not. Maybe not, because I tell you what, that New England team that played this Sunday would totally kick our ass as well, obviously. So, this New York Giant team, get it together, get your life together, man. But I can't spend any more time on this team right now. But I will be tuned in on Sunday. Best believe that. because that's just what I do. I just love torturing myself. Apparently, um, I just love to do it. But who we got next, man? Who we got next on the
Cowboys.
docket? Dallas. Who the hell is Dallas playing against? Who are the Cowboys playing against? The New Orleans Saints coming off
Oh, gonna
of
be a
a
good one.
big victory against the Carolina Panthers. Absolutely taking it to the Panthers. Now they're stepping up in weight class here. It's not they ain't going against the Panthers this week, bro. This is definitely going to be a big difference. And how you see this one possibly shaking up, Adam?
Well, I think it'll be a good game. I think the Cowboys will win. I think it might be another blowout. Although I like the Saints, and I think they're a solid team. They showed last week that they're a team that wants to fight for a wild card. Remember, they were a game out, but I think the Cowboys are going to. Where's the game, in Dallas or is it in New Orleans? If it's in the
It's in
Bayou,
Dallas.
they're going to win. They're going to
It's in
win.
Dallas.
I think they're just gonna. I think the Cowboys are going to kick their ass. So I really want to see what they're doing with Michael Parsons. I love it. Again, I told you guys Zimmer was the guy for this defense. Zimmer was going to unlock the hidden gem, and they cause chaos. That Cowboy defense, they cause chaos up front. They stunt, they move, and offensively, this will be a game. I do think you'll see more offense because I do think the Saints have decent defense. So I think you're going to see a little bit more offense in this game. That the offense is going to have to do more because it's not going to just be on cruise control. But I think they will beat this team probably 35 25 or something like that, 35-24 or something like that, where I think they'll eventually just take over because they're that good. But the Saints showed last week, and this is what you do when you're in a team that's not in your weight class. You beat the brakes off them. That's what you do. You laugh at them off the field. And if you looked at the polls coming out in terms of the two worst rosters in the NFL, it was the Giants and it was Carolina. And those two teams got smoked on Sunday. All right, so they're headed in that direction. And the team, like the Saints, has been pretty good for the past few years. Last year, again, they just were outside of the playoffs. I do believe this is going to be a tough game for the Saints. I don't see them winning because I don't think that they're the greatest road team in the world. But I just see Dallas' defense was too good, and I think they're going to make life miserable for Derek Carr.
Let's answer this real quick because look, Saquon. If Saquon Barkley was there on Sunday, this team still would have lost the football game. There's no doubt in my mind with the
Right.
way they were, just the way things were going. I mean, in that football game, yeah, sure. Would he have had more of an impact than Devin Singletary? Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure he would have. But
Yes.
as long as number eight's the quarterback, as long as he's the one taking the snaps, I'm
Well,
sorry,
number 8 probably would have had a
this
better
team
game
is
because,
doomed.
well,
Well, maybe,
strategically, I
maybe.
told you
I'm
guys,
not.
that 26 does different things from number 8, Barkley, right? Because the team is now going to come stack 8, 9, 10 in the box. You're going to have one-on-ones. What you did by getting rid of him and drafting a guy like Malik Neighbors is now they know they don't have to put 7, 8 guys, 10 guys in the box and have one-on-ones. They can put 4 or 5, their regular front 7, and stop the run because Singletary is not that guy that you're worried about breaking off too many long runs. So that doesn't leave for a lot of safeties to cheat up and do the one-on-ones last year. Last year, Saquon Barkley in those games with Tyrod Taylor, he affected that. That's why you saw the deep passes to Darius Slayton. Our quarterback hurts himself because of just how dumb he is. But with 26 on there, it made it easier for him to read the defense. With 26 now gone, it's going to be harder because the people don't believe in the backs. And this is what people talk about when we talk, like, for example, if you were to put the 2 running backs in the game we're talking about right now, right, with the Commanders and Giants, Brian Robinson's a better back than Devin Singletary, right? And so when you look around the league, good running backs are going to help offenses over the top. Alvin Kamara has been helping the Saints offense for years just because of how dual threat he is, right? Did we talk about Kamara the way we should? No, he's probably the best dual threat back we've seen in a long time. And look what the Cowboys did. The Cowboys, they brought back Zeke Elliott to help their run game out and run downhill, and it helps them set up their play action game. No, but we bring in a secondary back. You see what happened? We brought a guy in who's not even a feature back on any of the teams he's been on, and now we're saying be a feature back. Strategically, it just doesn't work. And the
Not
performance,
at all. Not one bit.
I don't think it. I think if you're talking about did they lose a leader in the locker room? Yes, I do believe people rallied around Saquon Barkley in this giant locker room. They don't have anybody to look to right now because their quarterback is not good. And when you're not a good player, it is hard to critique other players. Just fact. If you're a fucking shitty at work and you're trying to tell somebody else how to do their fucking job who's better than you, and they're having trouble, they're going to give you the side eye like, who the fuck are you to tell me how to do the job when you've been fucking up, right? That's Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, I made the analogy the other day. He is like the relative of the owner, like the grandson, cousin, whatever you want to call, that fucks up at your job, right? And you know can't be fired because he knows the owner. So, and no matter what he does, you're like, oh, that's Timmy again. Oh, God, I wish you, oh, but he's the owner's daughter. He's the owner's son, right? So he's not going anywhere. That's what Daniel Jones is right now. Until they rip the band aid off, that's who he reminds me of. That stupid employee that gets all the preferential treatment no matter how much times he fucks up, all right? And what's going to happen, and I hated to go back to this because we have one more game to talk about, is that 26 was more of a factor than people thought in terms of Jones's growth. Let's move on to fucking Eagles.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Who you got in this one? You said Dallas, and I got Dallas as well.
I got Dallas.
I
There's
like
no
New
way.
Orleans. I think New Orleans is a scrappy team, but they're definitely a good team defensively, and they could present a few problems for the
I think
Cowboys
we're keeping it
from that
close.
standpoint. But I still think Dallas. I think the Cowboys will be a little too much for them to handle. This is definitely not the Carolina Panthers they're gonna be facing again this Sunday. So yeah, I think I like Dallas here, man. But Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Saquon Barkley making his debut in front of the Philly faithful. How do you see this one going? Atlanta, one of the biggest disappointments of Week One.
I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to get their butts kicked out here. I think home opener against for a team that just came off that emotional win in San Paulo, Brazil, and I think what they're going to do is they're going to feature Barkley again. Because if I'm Kellen Moore and I go back and watch film, I want to take the ball less out of Jalen Hurts' hands. Because if they do deem what Mac said before, if Jalen Hurts is the weaker link, I want the ball out of his hands and to the guy that's going to create more. And I just think they're going to want to show their fans, and they're going to want to. They're this first time they get to debut this offense. You want to talk about atmosphere? It's going to be crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out in all black. They probably won't because they already used the black in Brazil, but I think it's going to be no contest, really. I think it's going to be a blowout. I think they're going to blow the fucking doors off of them just because I think Kirk Cousins is not healthy right now. I think you're seeing that right now with him. He can't move around the same. He still needs to adjust to the offense that he's in. And I think they're going to be right for the picking. I think at the end of the year, if Kirk Cousins survives, they'll be fighting for a wild card spot. But I think the Eagles are going 2-0 here, man. I really do. I like what they did defensively. I think their defense is going to not give up as many points. And by the way, they held the Packers to 26 points, which is pretty good. And they had some big crucial stops in the early going of this game. If they can put it together, and I feel the Eagle defense last week wasn't out of position. They were in position, but it looked like they were still in the preseason. When you watch the camp and they come and they get close to the guy, but they don't tackle him. It looked like some of the people were on preseason mode defense, meaning since they didn't play much, they weren't ready to game flow. So I think there'll be a little bit more tackling going down the pike, and I think there'll be a better unit going forward.
Yeah, I would say something I would take away from this game with the Eagles and Falcons here, though. I think from what I saw, I think the Eagles' run defense is still potentially an Achilles heel on that side of the ball for them. Josh Jacobs was kind of starting to get it going a little bit as well, man. In that game in Brazil, he was really starting to pick it up as that in the latter part of that game. And I think with the Falcons, you know what you're working with right now with Kirk Cousins, and you clearly see after watching that game against Pittsburgh, which granted Pittsburgh is a ferocious defensive unit. You know what I mean? So it's like take it with a little bit of a grain of salt there, I guess a little bit. But Kirk Cousins, like you said, he's not healthy. He's not 100%, and that was clear as day on Sunday. I think you really got to start leaning on Bijan Robinson, man, and really
Yeah,
finding creative ways to get the ball in his hands. Whether even if it's like just little quick passes, little quick screens and whatnot. You got to find a way to get the ball in his hand because he's a playmaker, man. That guy can do some, and he can do some damage to the Eagle defense if you put him in the right positions. And I think they need to really explore that option because I was listening to the guys talking on whatever at ESPN earlier, whatever talking about the Falcons in general because they were definitely one of the bigger disappointments week one. But considering expectations this team had coming
right.
into this season, and and they were already talking like, well, you think they have a better chance just don't if they just go ahead and put Penix out there for right now while Kirk Cousins is still not 100%, and I'm almost
Yes.
thinking that might be
Oh, they're going to
that
yank
might
him.
be the direction they need to go.
If
I
he doesn't
mean,
win this game,
Penix he showed that he's like, yeah.
short leash,
I'm
man.
thinking, I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm thinking like that too. Like if he doesn't, because this is you're talking about trying to keep pace with the Bucks down there in that division, which and the
Trying to
Saints. I
win.
mean, I mean, it's pretty much Carolina's not even a factor, going to be a factor in the division race down there. But the Saints, the Bucks, the Falcons. I mean, I don't. Would you be shocked if whichever one of those teams won that division? I don't think anybody would, but I don't
No.
think any of them are
But the
significantly
front
that much
runner
better than the other. So,
was Atlanta because they brought in the Kirk Cousins,
oh
right? They
yeah,
brought him in, and
absolutely.
we probably are we're probably overlooking the Bucks because the Bucks really didn't look good on Sunday. I mean, again, they handled their business. The team is an NFL team they played against in Commanders, who are also trying to win. So the NFC South looks primed and ready. The worst the second worst team in the South was Atlanta, and let's chalk it up to maybe the defense is better in Pittsburgh. Let's see what happens. If this game they come out and Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins, then they'll have a shot. But I think the Eagles also, if they don't turn the ball over, can score with anybody. You know what I mean? They're going to be able to score with anybody, and that's what I think is going to be what the Eagles need to lean on these games going forward is to just outshoot people. Just score as many points as you can in a bunch and hope that your defense can be in a pass rush mode and let your guys like Jalen Carter, N'Kobe Dean, Nolan Smith, and Bryce Huff be able to attack. Because like you said, the run game, they don't have much beef up front. So
Well, yeah, I mean, so like, let's say Atlanta goes in there, Philly, and they get just absolutely annihilated on Monday night. Man, would you think about turning and going to Penix? Man, week three they got the Kansas City Chiefs, bro.
the thing is this. If you lose, let's play the scenario. I know it's an NFC East show, but let's play it out real quick. If they lose to the Eagles, right, and they don't show up, and there's no, I think you would have to wait till week 4 because I wouldn't want to put Michael Penix in against Kansas City and just have him get embarrassed like that, right? You give Kirk Cousins one last shot to say, hey, listen, man, we paid you $100 million. We're going to put you out here against this team. This is what we paid you for. And if that doesn't work out, then week 4 you need to consider really bringing in Michael, especially if he looks bad. If he looks bad, right? Um, and maybe that's what they should have done. Maybe they should have started him over Kirk Cousins. But I don't know, man. Short leash. I think they're gonna have a short leash with Kirk, especially if he's looking like dog shit. And I think it's gonna be week 4. I think both the Giant quarterback and the Atlanta Falcon quarterback are not going to be the starting quarterbacks by the end of the season. I think by at least Seattle, you're going to see a change coming from the Giants, and probably by the end of the week 4, Kansas City, you'll see a change for Atlanta.
All right, so I mean, look, I'm all the way here. I think the Eagles are going to absolutely run these guys out of town. Like you said, I know what it's like at the Link, especially in the prime time, man. That place is going to be jumping. Those fans are going to be excited to see Saquon Barkley in the flesh in their uniform. I mean, it's going to be lit. It's going to be nuts in that stadium at the Link on Monday night. So I think the Eagles are going to take care of business here, and who knows what the future holds for Atlanta, Kirk Cousins, whatever. But I just think they're going to go out there and annihilate them. But
I agree.
that's how I feel about that. And unless you have anything else that you want to
Nope.
discuss,
I
we
think
get
that
ready to wrap this edition up.
let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up then. Thank you everybody once again for tuning in. Appreciate everybody stopping through, man. The chat was lit. It's been a great show. You're gonna keep getting this each and every Wednesday. Myself and Adam, each and every Wednesday, man. 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The real deal NFC East Round-Up, man. We're gonna give it to you raw, man. You ain't getting none of that fluff. It is what it is. You know what I mean? We're both New York Giant fans, but the New York Giants right now ain't giving us much positive things to talk about, to speak of. So, you know, it is. We had to come out here and say the things that we got to say because it's what the reality of the situation is, man.
You got a problem?
Right now. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we dealing with right now. So, thank you everybody, man. Make sure you go sum up to my channel, Mac the Giants fan. Sum up to Adam's channel, man. Adam Costas, man, and definitely sum up to the Hardcore Sports Network, man. Bringing it to you raw. Hardcore Sports Network's got everything you need. Whatever, it's your one-stop shop, man. You got basketball, football, baseball. You got a little bit of everything, man. Wrestling, they do it all on the Hardcore Sports Network. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will be back next Wednesday for another edition of the Real Deal NFC East Round-Up.
Love that.
I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants Fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants Fan. That's MacDa Giants Fan.